It's a germane issue, and it's on education. It's no more news that students are back in school, not only in Ogun State, but across various states in Nigeria. Even though final year students in Ogun State, talking about SS3, and of course, we were also concerned with how it was going to be. Eventually, they are back in school. There was a little bit of controversy about the issue of boarding students here and there. All that have been laid to rest. And so, the students are preparing for their WASE now, talking about the one conducted by the West African Examination Council, WAEC. So today, I want to look at school reopening challenges therewith. That is the topic we are looking at. And we have two wonderful guests in the studio this morning.
First, I'll have Dr. Olumide Lawrence, who is the Chairman, National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools in Ogun State. And from the government side, we have Honorable Remi Azan, the SA to Ogun State Governor on Communication. They will be telling us what we should know about school reopening across Nigeria, especially in Ogun State, and some issues that is related to it.
All right, we have, just like Charity said, Dr. Olumide Lawrence, Olumide, and of course, let me start from Honorable Remi Hazan. So far, how far?
Well, good morning to the good people of Ogun State and from wherever you're watching us from every part of the globe, because I'm aware that OGTV is on DSTV. So far, how far? I can say so far, not bad, because all of what we're doing is to test run the ability of schools to reopen using the exit classes as a case study. And of course, every effort needed to show sufficient level of care for the health of our students as well as their teachers have been put in place. In all the schools now, water is in place just so that washing of hands can be promoted. In all the schools, you have buckets here and there just so that where the source of water is not such that can promote ready hand washing, movement can just be made a lot more easier. You also have a situation where face mask is made available to both teachers and students. The classes have been well spaced to guarantee social distancing. And of course, the students themselves were quite joyous to be back in class because having stayed at home for upward of about 6 months, if not more, even in their long holidays, it was never that long. So all of that points in the direction of it is well so far. And we pray that by the end of their exams, the curves will have further flattened far more than this. We're not in any way pessimistic of what comes out of this. But of course, like I said, it's a test case.
Okay, Dr. Lumide, I know that NAPS have been in the forefront even before now, urging the government that we could go ahead to open schools, even if it only means for the final year students. Eventually, we are seeing that. And of course, what is the position of NAPS as per meeting the required standard? How can you vouch for all the private schools? Because we know that government will do all that they need to do to actually make sure that the public school meets the conditions. But how about private schools?
Well, good morning, Ogun State. I want to commend Honorable for establishing the fact that the students were observed happy yesterday when school resumed. Having stayed back at home, doing virtually nothing, apart from few that had the privilege of participating at Ogun Digit class. It is equally our joy as teachers to see our students returning to classrooms to fine-tune what needed to be done for their final examination. In preparation to the reopening of schools for the exit classes, there came guidelines to be used in containing the spread of coronavirus. The use of nose mask, regular hand wash, and all of that. As private investors in education, we value our students, we value ourselves. It is good that the students are returning to school. Equally, we should look at the fact that not only students are returning to classroom. As a leader in my own school, I will be returning to school. I will be meeting with teachers that have not been in the school for about 5 months. Students that have been away from school for about 5 months too will be returning. We don't know who is who. I am not fighting for the student alone. I am equally fighting for myself. Fighting for myself in the sense that as of today, by the grace of God, maybe I don't have COVID-19 yet, but a student is coming from maybe Lafewa or Ijemo or Ladere or anywhere, coming to school that had already been infected. So it is not all about putting things in place to protect the students. We are putting structures in place to protect students, protect the entire school community, the gateman, the cleaners, the teachers, the administrative staffs. That is the reason why at our own level as private school operators, we are protecting the students, we are equally protecting ourselves. I should be protecting my wife, I should be protecting my children so that I don't pick COVID-19 from the school, all in the name that I want to conduct revision with SS3 students and participate in the examination, and then I return home with problems. So we have looked into the students and we have looked into ourselves. That is the reason why it is mandatory to every private school in Ogun State. And I can assure you that before now, all of those things had been done. We at our own level, we bought this touchless hand washing machine. We made it available for all our members to pick up from our state secretariat at a reduced price. We imported infrared thermometer for our members to pick at reduced price because it is believed that when you monitor temperature, you can easily separate and identify a child that the body system is trying to fight back. And then, hand sanitizer. You can see when I came here, I didn't use your water, I didn't use your soap, I brought my own. That is what we have done for our teachers. We have equipped them. So we are ready because we are working with the mindset that we are not out to protect the student. We are equally out to protect ourselves. The student can as well infect us. So this is the angle at which and we are taking it with seriousness. We are taking it with caution. Like I said on Rock City FM yesterday, that look, because the governor said that we should step down COVID-19 tests for students, it's not the reason why we should take caution to the head. We must be therefore more extra careful. Yeah, so that is where we are. Private school in Ogun State, we are fully prepared. My school was visited yesterday by the team of COVID-19 quality assurance and compliance team. They came. I was privileged to be in the school premises. We moved around together. They visited classroom. They visited the exam hall. We can't expect anything less than what we have seen. It gladdens my day. It makes me happy. That's to tell you that we are set, we are ready, because we cannot afford to endanger our students, and we cannot afford to equally endanger ourselves.
Dr. Lawrence, let me cut in there. You said your teachers are ready.
Right, sure.
Who is in charge of these students? Since the teachers are ready, who will take care of the students? Who will ensure that they do their proper hand washing, they are properly spaced, and they don't mingle when it is not necessary? Who takes charge?
On a good day, every private school is a portable institution. That's why it is private. It's portable. We don't have overpopulated situation. Now, when you look at the school structure and what we are trying to establish now, you observe that we have only asked SS3 students to return to school. In an average private school, maybe maximum 150 register for WAEC. We have situation where we have 12 students, 18, 22, 50, like in our own school, is 51 or 52.
In class?
Yeah, for that class. And then the facility in my school, the capacity of students in my school is 750. 750 school capacity. Classroom, every classroom we have 18 students. On a good day, now we have 52 students going to use facility of 750 students. So it's already spacious enough to allow distancing. Now, the rest of teachers that are not teaching SS3 students can equally be deployed to monitor students at distance. So we have enough personnel to ensure that we don't return back into problem of COVID-19.
Honorable Azan, I'll still talk to you about this angle of social distancing for the children. In government schools now, we know that the environment is spacious enough for them to use. The classrooms are enough for them to use. How many should be in a class for now?
You can put a figure on a class because what goes into a class depends on the size and, of course, the sitting furnitures that are also available. But let me bring you up to speed on the protocol for resumption. Part of it is that things that gather or encourage clustering have been completely outlawed. There should be no assembly, whether in the morning or even at close. At the entrance, someone is there to do the temperature check, and from that point to the point where hands are washed, and from there to the classroom. So that is a straightforward thing. And like I said, each class will depend more on the size and the available furnitures that determines who sits there. There are classrooms that are twice the size of this studio. There are classrooms that are not up to half the size of this studio. But what is expected is that each classroom should do half its old capacity on the minimum. Sometimes it can even be 1/3, depending on what the facilities there are like. So you can put a figure on any class and say, this is the minimum that should be in a class. I know of a school, though it's a private school, that had 18 in a class when there was even no COVID. That was already spacious enough. Now you're coming back to say COVID-19 protocol, do half the size. That puts 9 in that class. And that's enough social distancing.
Yeah, I was, let me come, I was at a school, private school, and I've had the administrator, the management saying the isolation center in the school should be properly cleaned and be ready. So, is it part of the code that in case, what should happen if all schools must have isolation centers? What are the school authorities expected to do there, and what are the facilities that is expected to be there? I know it's something temporary.
Thank you very much. Yeah. The protocol is straightforward. It is not impossible that you check a child in the morning for temperature, and it's normal. And in the course of classes, temperature shoots beyond the allowable range. And that means that child needs to be isolated. And of course, you won't just take the child home straight away like that. You just first must do some level of first aid and be sure that what you are seeing is COVID related. So the particular space provided to ensure that is the temporary isolation center. And some people call it the sick bay. Yeah. Whatever name is given to it, it is just the first line of medicine prescribed and administered, just so to be sure that this is still within something that can be managed. It is not impossible that At the end of the day, it's not COVID. But take the child off the rest.
Honorable
first.
Remi Azan, I'm not perturbed about private schools because I know most of them have medical personnel even on ground on a normal day. But I'm not too sure about that about public schools. Are you now saying
The same
we have
protocol
now?
has been commanded for all our schools. And because they have enough classrooms, since it's only SC classes that are coming back to school, one of such available space can easily serve that purpose. So it's part of the protocol. If any school doesn't have it now, I doubt if that school is still within the purview of the administration of schools within Ogun State. They all have that mandate, and I'm sure it is there in the interim.
Okay, before we talk about WIC, I'll still with you. Now, we must not shy away, because it's the opportunity we are having you as the government spokesman to be in the studio, from what actually happened, the controversies surrounding those going to the boarding school, those from private, and you have to do COVID-19. What actually happened? What transpired? And why are we having a kind of rethink now from government that, okay, no, it doesn't really matter, because even if you do the test, it will take time. What actually transpired, and why did we have to go into that controversy?
Okay. Now, all over the world, reopening schools has been greeted with quite a lot of skepticism. And that's because schools naturally are environments where people cluster. And it is in the clustering that community spreading of COVID-19 is better or further enhanced. So we thought it wise that, okay, for our students that are returning, exit classes alone, some percentage of these returning students are in boarding facilities. For day student, the protocol is straightforward. Get to the gate, be screened for temperature, approach the hand washing facility, wash your hand, go to your class. And in the class, it's already spaced. And when you finish the classes for the day, you go home. But for those who are going to be in boarding facilities, it goes beyond that. Because beyond classroom, they're still going to go into the hostel facilities, where they will further mingle, they will use common toilet facilities, they will use bed spaces, and they will be in an aerosol environment. Your studio, for example, is a typical example of an aerosol environment, an enclosed place. And transmission of the virus is easier when you are in an enclosed place. Now, if these students who are going to use boarding facilities are also going to be allowed, what should be the protocol that will guarantee safety? The government came up with the idea that let all those going into the hostel facility be tested, so that mingling notwithstanding, you are sure that nothing will be transmitted because those who are there are already COVID-19 free. So that mandate was handed over to all our schools that operate boarding facilities. Of the schools, those who are in government boarding facilities are just about 500. And we needed to know how many those who are in private boarding facilities are, just so that it will give the government an idea of the cost implication of carrying out this test. 500 for public schools, that can still be handled because each test costs about 50,400. Now, the data for those in private schools didn't come. And we sensed that probably they thought government was going to use it to tax them. When that didn't come, then this flat communication of a discount to them, because you cannot subsidize what you don't know. You can't subsidize a figure that you don't have. Neither can you even pay for something that you don't have an idea of what the volume of the scope is. Salvation is free, but somebody paid for it. So even if it is going to be free, at the end of the day, what is the cost to government if it is something that can be taken up? That information didn't come. So in response, a 50% discount was communicated. And of course, it is well within the allowable rights of citizens to protest government policies. It even helped government to further ventilate their opinion and look at the policy once more. And this 25,000 didn't go down well with some parents. And when that happened, there were protests. And we had to look at it again. In the midst of the melee, the private school operators supplied the data. When the data came, and we saw a little less than 5,000, which, if it had come to us earlier, there would have been no need to even be saying this is where we are, because that figure is something that government can easily handle. And when the government took a second look at it, so well, as it stands, we can handle this. Therefore, communicate it to everyone again. This is now free. If that data had come, there would have been no need. When we had no information, what we could do was what we did. And when the information came, of course, there was a rethink. And there is nothing wrong in government rethinking on the policy just so that it sends the message of sensitivity from government. Because the government is there for the people in the first place, and not for itself.
All right, Dr. Olumide, now that the whole thing has rested, education, training or revision have started, but I know that when it comes to boarding issues, most private schools, when it comes to final examinations, want their students to stay in boarding house. I know about 80 to 90% of your students will stay in boarding house. So, how prepared is NABS as per the boarding facility? One thing is for you to actually monitor students during the daytime, during the classes. Now, staying in an enclosed situation, just like Reverend Hassan said, it's another thing, day and night, now all through the exam. How prepared are you?
Well, thank you. I think before going to that, let me correct an impression here, as said by Honorable Hassan. I know Ebon for, some times now, and I know he's a God-fearing fellow. I think the last time we met was at FC Oshele. You came to, make a presentation alongside with me too. I want to believe that somebody somewhere somehow is, not doing the right thing. That is the reason why that had to happen. The issue of payment of 25,000 came out of a meeting on a Saturday. The provision or the supply of data of students in the hostel in Ogun State was about a week earlier. A link was sent to me, and I dispatched that link to all our members for them to complete that questionnaire online. All right? So if the opera started on Sunday, and then Honorable Remy Hassan is saying because of the opera, we had to look into it. The information that the people concerned used now, was it supplied on Sunday? When there was lockdown. We submitted almost immediately because it was an online thing.
Let me quickly.
Hold on, sir. I have the floor. I have the floor. Hold on, sir. I have the floor. Hold on, sir. Hold on, sir. Now, the opera started on a Sunday. So private school cannot be blamed for not supplying information. Even at that, let us put it this way. Let us assume, okay, maybe out of 50 that ought to have responded to that questionnaire, maybe 25 responded. We can as well say, okay, those people that responded, this is what government want to do. If you had failed to do this, so this is the implication of your failure to have given government information to plan for you. Now, the bone of contention of most parents is not even the issue of the money from my investigation. The issue is the discrepancies, the discrimination being suffered for taking your child to a private school. What is the difference between a child that is attending a public school and a private school in Ogun State? Our governor is father of all. There's no business, there's no reason. Nobody should even think about it. That somebody somewhere was thinking about it, that because my child was going to a private school is the reason why he has to pay for something is uncalled for. Let us be truthful to ourselves here. Now, to the point.
Let him react to some of
you were given a protocol to complete, so to say, supply information.
Yes.
1 week earlier. The decision as to the cost implication. First of all, I need to tell you that medicals normal protocols in schools, even when there was no COVID. And everybody knows that that is a protocol that at the end of the day, parents are responsible for. Government doesn't do it, but protocol is a peculiarity. And that's why you are seeing the intervention of government more than others, because this is a global pandemic. Now, you didn't supply that information. You did supply what wasn't complete. And incomplete data cannot in any way enhance any form of planning. There are schools who, even without your prompting, went ahead to do their own COVID-19 test, because such schools have 100% burden. They don't have any form of day. Louisville is one of such. And they told us that even before we communicated to them, they had already gone ahead to do that. Supplying incomplete data is as good as non-compliance. And that will not tell the whole story as to what we are planning for. Protests didn't start until the communication of that figure came. When finally you came with the remainder of the data, and it was clear that this is where we are, it puts government in a better stead. And let me let you know that private school cannot be the same thing as public schools. Already they don't pay the same school fees. And that is because of the government fees that public schools wear. Private schools will always be private schools. And what drives you in private schools is profit. Government schools is service. The difference is quite clear. Yes, we know that government has a responsibility to all. And in COVID-19, we're not shying away from that. But because data didn't come when we needed it, some decisions had to be taken because schools will resume on Tuesday. Decision had to be taken to communicate protocols. You had a week. You didn't get 50% of what was requested. And if something now happened on Saturday, just so that we show readiness that resumption is for real. And of course, after that, there was this rush to bring the remainder of the data. You couldn't blame that on government 100%. But we have gone past that.
Yeah.
I just needed you to know that you are part of the reason why this happened.
Okay.
Government is not insensitive.
Dr. Olumide, so back to my question, how ready are you to
like I said,
buzzing facility-wise
Yes.
in this period of COVID-19,
Yes.
even though we've gone past that?
You see, like I said earlier, private schools are most times with bigger facilities to cater for students. One of the reasons why parents will always want to patronize a private institution when they are in position to do it is because of personal touch. Okay? We have seen before now where our leaders in position or people that are worthy in society, when they have health issue, they travel abroad. Not to go to government hospital, most times, private where they believe they will be well catered for. Even within Nigeria, there are people when they sick now, the next thing they will be thinking about is a private hospital, not government owned. They want this personal touch. So also, a private school is a place where there is this personal touch with your child. There is this care. You see, there is this care. Now, because of the test we are doing with the students and the situation on ground, we have minimum number of students in the school vis-a-vis the infrastructure that is currently available. Now, a school that has hostel facility of 200 students, maybe in a room where you have 5 bunks times 2, that is 10. So if you have 10 in a room, it just implies now that now that you are having a very reduced number of students going to use the same facility, we will end up having 2 students in a room. We will end up having 2 students in a room wherein one can be at the other end and one will be at the other end. And then don't forget that school is a platform where you educate. Some of the things that these students have not been exposed to, they will not be exposed to it in school. Perhaps they will have to live with this new normal for a while. That was the reason why we were clamoring before that, look, we cannot continue to lock down the school to deter the student from picking up some of the things that will be needed for the rest of their life in case COVID-19 is not leaving soon. Now, when you now look at that, a situation where you have opportunity to get more educated on COVID-19. Now, yesterday, we had 3 students that resumed in our school. We told them we have started the orientation. It is not even teaching now. We are doing orientation. How you should move, how you should conduct yourself, why you must not hug anybody, why you must not shake hands, which they have not been exposed to from the home they were coming from. Right from the gate, no mask, no entry. A parent came yesterday, even the officers of the ministry that came yesterday, perhaps they felt maybe they are safe. The security man told them, please highlight from the car, go and wash your hands before you even sign into the premises. I was looking at them, the officer was like, the guy insisted, wash your hand first. And then in our schools now, parents are not allowed to come in. So if you are a father, you love your daughter, I want to see my girl every weekend, for now, it is not allowed. Once they are checked in, until they are done. So the environment is already structured to allow that we don't have problem. Don't forget that I said earlier, we are not afraid of the student picking up COVID-19. We equally, we their handlers, we are equally careful so that we don't get contaminated from them. So that tells you that we are on top of the game here, just the same way the government is.
Honorable Azan, I will start this question with you. We know that schools are opened now, and exiting students are there. SS3 and maybe just 3 are there now. What is the mode of learning for them at this period? Is it the revision, or they will go straight to the subjects preparing for the WAEC?
I was on another media outlet a few days ago, and this same question came. Ogun State is one of the blessed states because we're always the first in almost everything. And one of the first that Ogun State did in this period of the pandemic, which your station is also a very strategic partner, is the DigiClass. And the DigiClass has gone a lot far to prepare, especially the exit classes, for a day like this. I know that some of the private schools too are doing online revision for their students because even in my home, I saw that my children will always want to take up my phone to do their assignments and what have you. It simply means that even before now, the in-person learning that is about to take place, there has been some home-level kind of learning. So we expect that this 2 weeks period before the exams commences is going to be for reasonable revisions.
Okay.
And for Ogun State students, it will be a recap of the revision that has already been going on even before now. So we expect that our students will do well. And I'm also aware that the DigiClass has had about 2 sessions of exams so far, and results were even given. Some students did excellently well, and they were given a lot of coverage by OGTV and some other media outlets. So learning has been going on. It may not have been totally up to what will have happened within the classroom environment, but this revision period will now help to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Dr. Olumide, is it the same thing at your end?
Yes, let me commend the Executive Governor of Ogun State for his support and his weight behind the DigiClass, and then the doggedness of the essay to the governor, Shoyombo, who was all out championing the cause of the DigiClass, promoting it. And I remember in one of the meetings we had immediately after the closure of schools, when she told us the plans of the government about the DigiClass, and I said, well, this is great. We are going to equally support and mobilize our students to participate at the DigiClass, despite the fact that we have our own structure, as private schools. But not all private schools as well were in position at that time to put in place online learning. So those crop of schools that may not have the facility and the wherewithal to be, switched on to join the government arrangement for the COVID-19, the digit class. So it is quite good. Our argument then was that those who cannot access the digit class for reasons, we should find a way to help them. And the bulk of students in the SS3 classes as we have now that may not have been privileged to, enjoy that opportunity can now be given attention. The revision of a team most times is not about content or subject matter.
Okay.
It's equally about positioning that child to write an examination. An examination that is an external examination, the student want to feel, it's defined now, if I fail, I won't be able to go to university, this anxiety and all of that. So we sit down with them to counsel them, to tell them, to give them picture of what they should expect in the course of the examination. Invigilators will be coming outside your school, somebody you have never seen before, you will be the one. So we do all of this to position them, to make them calm. All right? When you want to, start your exam, the first thing is to check your number, write your name, we print out demo, give to them, mock WAEC, give to them, so they know where to put their name. There are many students, many exams, they will complete the exam something, and then they will neglect to write their examination number. So no matter what you have done. So some of those things are, because what makes for good performance most of the times as external examination is this final preparation, this dot the I's, the crossing of the T's, all these little things there. Don't forget to put a full stop on your something. Don't forget your paragraphing. Don't forget your workings, mathematics. Don't forget to always define before you even answer. Don't forget to always, if it is advantages and disadvantages, don't forget to tabulate. Those are the simple things we use the opportunity of the revision time to tell them. You remember that the digit class couldn't have done this. So be it private, be it public now, we are now back in school to tell them this is what you should do, this is how to do it.
Does that include their psychological preparedness?
That's what it's
Yeah, of course. That's what, I said, we have informed our member to use yesterday and today for orientation of their students. Prepare them to have their mind calibrated back into the school system.
Yeah. Right.
So it's part of the preparation.
My worry, the COVID-19 pandemic actually negatively affected most stratas of life, no doubt about it. Education inclusive, especially private education. Not your course. Most of your teachers have not been paid in the past few months. It's not your problem. It's not because you don't want to pay them, because once the students don't pay school fees. Now, you don't need only the teachers who are involved with SS3 students. You also need other teachers. Even those that were doing e-learning, I'm sure that most were still grumbling that they have not been, motivation is low. Now you need them not only for the revision of the students, but to monitor and make sure that all protocols are observed and everything records a success story. How are you going to do it now?
This is the reason why we have to continue to pray to God to help our government, and equally to charge them to live up to responsibility. It is very, very key. You see, that we are operating from the side of private is key to the development of the states and the nation at large. For example, let us even look at the data available. Public school, we have 500 students in the hostel for the SS3 students. For private school, we have 5,000 plus. Look at that ratio. It tells ordinarily that we have the bulk of Ogun State children in private schools. We can draw that inference. If we have 500 students in the government, hostel, and then we have over 5,000 in private school. Now, if you look at the regular day student too, side by side, public and private, you will see bulk of our children in the private All right. Reason for this, apart from the economic status of the parent, is proximity. Many a times there are local environments in these states that we don't have primary school, public primary school. Look at within immediate community, but private school had, solved that problem for parents. That is now therefore to tell us that if we equally put side by side the number of teachers in public school and that of private school, it's most possible that we have more in private school. That is now telling us that majority of Nigerians have suffered. More importantly, if you are a teacher in a private school during COVID-19 problem, bulk of us, because one, school, because of this problem, were closed without notice. Nobody will expect that COVID-19 will send invitation to anybody that I'm coming to your community. So government took the best decision then to say, look, we don't know what is up, so let us be safe. Right? Between that time, around that time, we are preparing to write our final examination for the second term. And most times in private schools, parents, not all parents, some parents will pay before resumption, some will pay during the term. Many will pay, few will pay about examination. And then during the examination, you will write the exam today. Since you have not paid your school fees, you separate that child, which has implication on its own. But the parents, some of them are incapacitated because of the economy of the community. And then at such time, you can now see the volume of money all schools owners that were still out there yet to be collected. Many of us struggled to pay March salary. Many struggled. So practically, April, May, June, July, our teachers had been without any source of income. And these are people now that they have seen that their nation has disappointed them. Because working in a private school, you have no future. That is the implication. That's the implication. And this may affect their morale. It may affect their commitments. They are now saying that, look, we are not part of the people recognized by government, because when there is problem, nobody cares for us. Now we are on our own. We have to even begin to work again to motivate them, to restore them that, look, this happened because it came in the night. Nobody prepared for that. Now we are going to be taking up government, we are going to be taking up NGOs to begin to look into this area so much that those teachers that have lost interest in teaching because of the way they have been handled in the course of the COVID-19 issue should, will be key. Don't forget that in the process of living, everybody wants to survive at all costs. Some of these teachers are now Okada riders. Some of them have started driving taxi in town to make ends meet. Many have gone into farming. We are even afraid now that some teachers will not even return back to school because they have moved on with their lives. Now, why should it be so in the first instance? It shouldn't be so if we have a good economy and we have had good governance over the years.
Let me come to Honorable Razana. Yes, for government angle, the teachers don't have any excuse, because even while they were at home, it was like a holiday. Just stay home, stay safe. They were being paid. Now, they have to be double motivated now since they are in school to actually go along with government plans. While you answer that, I also want you to spare a thought for what you just said. What could government have done?
That is even where I'm going to start.
Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What Doctor has spoken about is very critical. And we mustn't shy away from the fact that private school owners are major stakeholders in the educational sector of this country. Whether at primary, secondary, or tertiary level, they are major stakeholders. And the coming of COVID-19 has opened our eyes to the dimension that they cannot completely exist on their own. So whatever might have been the gap between them and government before now should now have a policy thrust that connects them further to government. And so that situations like this can easily get some bit of reprieve from government. I know there was a time that it was muted that some private school teachers might be given some sort of palliative by government. How has that gone? Nobody knows. But like I'm saying, I want them at the level of their leadership to further interface with the various states where they operate. They are in Ogun State. And look at how they can be part of the educational organogram in such a way that when situations like this crop up, it's going to be difficult for government to just face public school teachers alone. Even if it is going to be some few level of, oh, okay, this is 10, 20% of your salary structure, see what you can do with it too. But that also will depend more on how symbiotic that relationship is. I know that when it comes to government, they have their reservation. And more so because in the area of tax liability, they see government only as an agency of taxation and nothing more. But it goes beyond that. Because when you are able to connect well with the government under which you operate, bringing to bear certain challenges that confront you will be a lot easier. I'll give you an instance. When the government of the United States was reeling out a stimulus package for every sector, it was difficult for the government not to include the private sector operators because they've been together. There was no difference as to which is public, which is not public. And that also includes absolute disclosure at every level. I know that everyone has his own reservation about government sincerity, but nobody foresaw a day like this, and it has happened. Relationship tells and builds more of fence mending than we have seen thus far. So I encourage them to come closer to government, and even this issue of teachers that have been out of work, out of salary for some time, it is not something that can be wished away completely. Something can still be salvaged. If all governors take it up and take it to the federal level, something may just come out of it. So the closer they get to government, the more easy it becomes for this problem to be solved. For our own public school teachers, one of the things that we did in the course of a stay at home, which made quite a number of teachers to sit back at home, was we made it quite incisive for them to be part of the DG class from the comfort of their homes. Yeah. Because one thing about learning is that if you leave it, it leaves you. Yeah, sure. I know, for example, that mathematics is one subject that if you are off the course for 1 month, you struggle to come back. Now imagine someone that has been off the course for 5, 6 months. So it's going to be a whole lot of struggle. Then you want to prepare people for exam. So before becoming stale, government has given you a platform to remain very active. Take advantage of it. We want to believe that they have done that. But school administrators will now check if those teachers are actually up to date in terms of what they will be able to impart to the students.
All right.
Let me ask you this.
We are wrapping up. Yes. Charity.
I want to ask this. E-learning was one of the gains of this COVID-stroke education. Are we going to continue using e-learning to teach our students?
No doubt we have had our fair share of the gains of e-learning. I don't think it is wrong to continue, but then you need to structure it in such a way that it is sustainable, not something that will just be a one-off thing. So if the protocols are worked out properly, continuing it is gainful, and I wish that our government continues, and I don't think they will discontinue in the circumstance.
Dr. Olumide, your passing shots as we go.
Well, I want to encourage all handlers of the youth of the nation not to feel neglected because of what COVID-19 brought us into. Let us be motivated by the future that is ahead of us. Like I said sometimes in the recent past, that if all things had been done well before now, this administration would just be building on it. But when things had gone so bad, and then you can't build on it immediately. You have to first of all go back to the foundation to reconstruct it. That is the reason why we can't blame, the current administration in Ogun State to a large extent, because I know His Excellency is a man of wisdom and omotisha for that matter. So his interest in education is
second to none.
Yes, I think so. We will continue to encourage him whenever we are engaged. We will be truthful on matters that affect Nigerian children, and we promise as a body that his aspiration for Ogun State children, his desire that where they should be, we are in full support to ensure that those things are accomplished. Cooperation, we are set. We have no other state apart from Ogun State. We are here, and we must contribute our own quota. We can't be building and be destroying. For the first time, my association is not a political body, but for the first time, we said, look, we will be part of this, because we are saying within enough is enough. We must move on. So we threw our weight behind this administration to emerge. So we can't go against this administration. But equally, we must appreciate parents that cried out to say no, because the money was not meant to be paid by school owners, but the students also felt no. And then the government listened. That gladdens the heart of everybody that, we have a listening government, not the one that say, this is what I want to do, and it must be done.
All right,
so we give it to him
Thank
from
you.
National Association of Proprietors of Private School, Ogun State.
Thank you very much. Good. All right, that's how it's going to be.
I thought you were going to ask for my own party show. Well, to teachers, to parents, to students, exit class resumption does not announce that COVID-19 is over.
Sure.
It is a call to becoming a lot more careful and have it at the back of your mind that this is just a test case. COVID-19 is still as dangerous as it has always been. Thank you.
And of course, the success of this partial resumption will go a long way
To determine, that's why I call it a test case.
It's a test case. Thank you very much. Honorable Remi Azan, SA to Ogun State Governor on Communication, for coming into the program. You still have many calls to come onto the program, no doubt, since you are the mouthpiece of the government. And of course, Dr. Olumide Lawrence, President, Ogun State NAPS, that's National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools. Thank you also for having time to come onto the program. So, to our students out there, don't forget, we are for you, and of course, we hope that we don't have any fear that Ogun State students will be successful in WAEC, because we know that during COVID-19, both government, both private have been actually preparing these students one way or the other, even though it might not be the holistic way. So use the remaining 2 weeks to actually get it right and fix your exam and come out in flying colors. Best of luck, we can only say from this end. So, Charity James and Akim Akitunde will be back again Wednesday next week for our own section of Newdawn. So thank you for watching. We'll see you there.
Ginger is nutritional and beneficial to the human body and the brain. Consuming a plant food like ginger decreases the risk of obesity, diabetes,